Hey folks, my name is Chris at Hauseit. Today we're going to talk about a topic that many first-time home buyers will want to ask about, especially if they're buying a condo, a house, perhaps that needs a little bit of loving and replacements or renovations and such. They want to do some work. It's not uncommon, and if so, you're going to have to deal with contractors and repairmen and all sorts of folks, tradespeople here in Florida. So today we're going to talk about a topic relating to what to watch out for when renovating your home in South Florida. Our general experience has been that contractors here in Florida are generally pretty honest folks and are really often easier to deal with than those we've experienced working with in New York. And perhaps that has to do with the less congested nature of the neighborhoods here. Perhaps the costs are a bit lower. There's no such pending thing as congestion pricing and such. Parking is easier to find. There's oftentimes valet and such and loading docks and such. So it's a little bit less friction to start with for these contractors to actually get to your building or to your house. If you have a house, obviously very easy to park. So there's less friction there. So you see even less of people charging just to give a complimentary quote, which is like pretty commonplace in New York. But here, yeah, you're getting your home renovated. It's a big job. People will typically come out here for free just to give you an estimate. And once you start working with a contractor, whether it's putting in floors, so for example, a lot of new construction projects will come or new construction condos will come quote unquote decorator ready or developer ready. What that means is basically it'll have concrete floors for everywhere except the bathrooms typically, which are fully finished. So that it's concrete floors, so you need to put in the floors. You'll need to do painting because it's just primer on the walls, and you need to put in baseboards, and then also closets and window treatments, which means shades or curtains. But so that's a typical example of a scope of work you might need to do if you're buying an apartment that hasn't been lived in before, or if it's just simply an older apartment, you want to do a gut reno or something. You're going to have to deal with probably a GC, and unless you really know what you're doing, or you want to do little bits and pieces here or there, you pretty much need a GC to organize and subcontract all of the work, especially if there's electrical, plumbing and such. You really do need someone there to also handle all the permits for you, to file the permits and such. But the most important thing, and then in that case, if you're having someone handle this for you, which presumably most of you will need, you need to really select one based off of good referrals. We're happy to give you referrals as well, ones we've worked with before. But it's important, ask your friends and family, other folks you've seen done work before, check out their apartments, see how the quality of the work is, try to maybe engage those referrals ideally after your friends have actually had the project completed, because you never know. Sometimes contractors get lazy and just don't bother closing out the permits. We've heard those stories before. So definitely, that's usually the most common practice. Do that. And then, when you're negotiating the quotes with the contractors and getting quotes and such, always keep in mind that, some of these guys will really try to charge, whatever they can get away with. So we've seen quotes get literally reduced by 50% or more. So it can happen. Get multiple quotes. One of the best sales tactics we found is just to say, hey, listen, we're looking to make a decision today. I'm getting quotes from 3 other places, final quotes, put your best foot forward or give me your best price. And then I hope to be able to work with you guys, but give me your best price. Want to make a decision today. And then oftentimes you might get folks to improve on themselves. Another important thing is, once you find that best quote that encompasses as much of, what you're trying to do, really make sure to make that quote as detailed as possible. And now, it might be hard for you to, especially as someone who's not in the construction industry, to really know, what exactly should be included in that quote. But really, ask around, ask your friends, try to make it as detailed as possible to really minimize the risk that, this quote that you thought was all in becomes suddenly not all in, right? So that, there certainly is a risk of that happening. So you really got to make sure, as detailed as possible, what type, even to the level of detail, if you're capable of what type of paint, what type of baseboard exactly, what type of flooring, what, if you're renovating your bathroom, how thick the glass is, because you just don't want to be surprised later on. Perhaps your contractor will try to come to you and say, hey, common tactic is, well, you got this thickness of glass, but why would you want that? Because it's much more premium to have this thicker version of glass, which is going to cost you X more. So all these things that might come up. So really, try to get a sense what you want exactly, stick to it, try to make it as all-inclusive as possible. Make sure you pay by installments. Obviously the more advantageous to you is to have the installments be later, right, in the process. So instead of paying more upfront, you want to pay less upfront, because the more work the contractor and their subcontractors do, the more capital improvements they do to your property, the more leverage you have and the less leverage they have. So you obviously want to spread the payments in installments. Ideally, towards the end, never pay out 100% before the project has been completed, because then you'll literally have no leverage. So those are just some tips, and just that's what I would recommend to do the most. And then as you go forward, make sure you stay on top of them. There are common, tips to speed up the process. For example, if you're doing renovations in a condo building, the condo building, just like in New York, will typically have an architectural modification form. So basically a building application to give you permission to renovate. So you need to fill that out. You need to give get a building permit from the city. Oftentimes the building application will require the city approval, the city permits first. And so that can sometimes lead to a delay. But one trick, for example, is when you get that first approval in iBuild, which is the city's website related to construction. When you see that approval in iBuild, your contractor may say, hey, well, listen, we need to get the actual permit, maybe a paper version or some more formal version of that. What you can actually do is you take a screenshot of that approval in iBuild, and then you send that along with your application to your building. And oftentimes these condo buildings have management right in-house. Maybe you're in good relations with them. You can just go talk to them and say, hey, listen, I have approval. Here's a screenshot. Let's get moving. And then this way you can get your building application approved essentially simultaneously. You can get work started, as soon as possible. So that's, that's really it in a nutshell. The other great thing about working with contractors here is, you'll get to meet a variety of subcontractors throughout the scope of work. People who may be able to help you with certain knickknacks, maybe hanging a mirror or small things like that. So, if possible, and if they're willing, you can try to get their contact information too. If you want, you can check with your GC to see if he's okay with you working with them directly on some smaller stuff in the future. And of course, at the end of the project, remember to get a photo at the very least, or ideally leftovers of any materials that you might need to patch up yourself in the future, such as the exact type of paint. Can't tell you how important that is. Maybe some extra pieces of tile you might need, extra pieces of baseboard, just stuff that in case you need to do work in the future, you're not at a complete loss on what the materials used actually were. So there you have it. We hope you found this video helpful. Hit like and subscribe. Leave us a comment below if you have any questions. And of course, if you're looking to buy a new place or sell in South Florida or New York, we can help you. We can help you save up to 6% when you sell with an agent-assisted FSBO listing. We also have a full service for 1% listing service if you want something more hands-on. You want an agent on our side to handle everything for you. And of course, if you're looking to buy a property, we can help you save 2% or more on your purchase. By giving you 2/3 of the buyer agent commission, subject to us keeping a minimum of 1%. That can be quite substantial in South Florida, because sometimes new construction projects will offer 4, 5, 6, 7% to buyer's agents. So if we give you 2/3 of that back, that can be substantially more than the 2% you typically expect, which can more than cover your closing costs. We cover all of Southeast Florida. We're based in Miami, Florida. We cover Miami-Dade County, Broward County, Palm Beach, Martin, and St. Lucie counties. And in New York, we cover all 5 boroughs of New York City, all of Long Island, and the Hudson Valley. My name is Chris at Hauseit, and we'll see you on the next one.